clear-cut favorite in the National League East. We saw the Phillies lose yesterday on opening day against the Braves. The Nationals got rained out. They'll play the Reds coming up in about a half an hour from now. Mark Zuckerman from the Mid-Atlantic Sports Network will be there. He covers the Nationals, and he joins us now. And, Mark, yesterday they want Gabe Kapler fired here already, but one game in, the Nationals are a clear favorite in the East. I'm assuming if they lose today, people aren't going to want wholesale changes out there, right?
Well, you would hope not, although they've got a first-time manager themselves in Dave Martinez, so who knows if he makes a decision that backfires. There's still a lot of Dusty Baker fans that might feel like they're questioning that decision. But, look, I know things went poorly yesterday for the Phillies. I actually like that team. I picked them to win a wild card. I know that's a little bit bold, but I like what they're doing. I think they were a team that everyone figures was building for next year. But look at the moves they made in signing Arrieta and Santana and putting Kingery on the opening day roster. I think they're trying to suggest that they're trying to win now. Now, Gabe Kapler's going to have to figure out how to manage a bullpen and keep everybody on the same page there. And I think he will figure that out over time. But I think the Phillies, maybe not as a division winner, but I think they can be in the hunt this year. I think the Mets are maybe the one team that, if everything goes right and everybody stays healthy, could challenge the Nats for the division title. But you're right. I mean, they are the clear-cut favorites going in, and it's been that way for a few years now. We'll see if they can actually take advantage of that, because before long, this division is going to catch up to them.
Yeah, and they go in, obviously, as a clear favorite here. But if they have a concern, what are the National fans concerned about that something could go awry with this team? What would it be?
I think the first thing is the bullpen, and look, it is leaps and bounds better today than it was at this time last year when they had no proven closer. They had to piecemeal together everything in the late innings and wound up needing to do a complete overhaul in July. So the three guys that they acquired, Sean Doolittle, Ryan Madsen, former Philly, and Brandon Kinsler, they're all back. They're set in the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning, so that's good. But beyond that, there is not a lot of depth there, at least proven depth. Everybody else beyond that is a question mark. And so I do think that's an area that could be a concern for them this year. Daniel Murphy is not on the opening day roster. He had knee surgery in October. We don't know exactly when he's going to return. It could be later in April. It could even stretch into May. That would be a little bit of a concern to me. And then just the overall health of this team. They've dealt with various things over the years and gotten by, even when Harper hurt his knee last year. Strasburg had an elbow injury 2 years ago. Max Scherzer has been remarkably healthy since they got him, and he's been amazing for them, winning 2 straight Cy Young awards. You hope he can keep that up, but one of these days he may not still be that Max Scherzer anymore. So as the team gets older, I think you do have to start thinking about injuries a little more and worrying that could affect them. But they've got good depth. I think they're equipped to handle a lot of things that could happen to them along the way. But like I said, they know the window of opportunity for this team is starting to head towards the other side.
Right.
There are free agents after this year. Bryce Harper leads among them. Like I said, Scherzer getting older, Ryan Zimmerman getting older. So there are some concerns to say that this may not just be a smooth cakewalk like everyone might think.
Well, Mark, we saw that in Philly. I mean, they went from going to 5 straight division championships, and then all of a sudden the injury bug hit, and then it just went off the rails. So it could happen at any time. I'm sure the Nationals are well aware of that.
Yeah, exactly. And they look at that as a blueprint, and it's a great example of how you have to be careful about falling in love with your own players and signing them long-term out of loyalty to them. We saw what happened with Ryan Howard and Carlos Ruiz and Jimmy Rollins and all the rest of them. And I think it's a cautionary tale and something that the Nats will be aware of. Now, they internally hype up their farm system and say that they've got another wave coming soon. Victor Robles, an outfielder, is going to be the first in that group that makes a big impact. So they feel like they're ready to retool and not have to go through any kind of rebuilding phase after this year. But nothing lasts forever in this sport, as we know, and it's one of the reasons that I kind of was high on the Phillies this year is I think back to 2012 when everybody assumed the Phillies were going to run away with the division title again. The Nationals, people thought they were on the right track, but maybe they were a year away, wound up all coming together for them that year. And the reverse situation could happen this year, whether it's with the Phillies or the Braves or the Mets.
Has the Bryce Harper stuff been a distraction? I mean, it seems like it's everywhere. He's going to make $400 million. He's not going to be in Washington. This is his last year there, right? I mean, it seems that that's for a team that has its sights on winning the division and maybe a World Series, that seems to be a pretty big story that kind of hovers over them as this season moves on.
Yeah, I mean, it is the underlying story to the entire season. Now, Bryce is trying to ignore it altogether. He said on the first day of spring training, I'm not going to answer questions about next season and about free agency. We'll see how that goes once he especially makes some trips to New York. We've got a series at Yankee Stadium this summer, L.A., Chicago, the All-Star games in D.C. He's going to be the center point of all of that, and I'm sure it's going to come up. So, we'll see. I think, knowing him, I think he is going to embrace this idea. He may not talk about it, but he knows this is his chance if he puts together a monster season to go get the biggest contract in baseball history. And that's certainly a motivating factor for him. I think if he keeps himself on the field, he's going to have a huge year. And then, it just boils down to where does he end up. And there's still, I think, a lot of people in D.C. that feel like there's a real chance that he decides to stay with the Nationals. I don't think it comes down to money. I really think everybody's going to offer the money. It's going to come down to, does he want to take a chance on D.C. and think that can turn into one of those real elite baseball towns,
right?
Or does he want to go somewhere where it's already well established?
Yeah, that's a good point. Mark Zuckerman, Mid-Atlantic Sports Network, covers the Washington Nationals, who opened their season up today. Is what kind of market? Famously years ago, the Phillies brass said, "Well, we're in a small market, Philadelphia," and people are like, "Philadelphia is a small market? Like, are you kidding me?" They just didn't want to spend money. When they finally spent money, they won a world championship. Now, you don't have to spend money, as teams have kind of displayed over the years. It's not like the '90s when the Yankees were just outspending anybody. But would you consider? Do they consider the Washington D.C. market to be a bigger market and a good baseball town?
Yes, I think internally they do, and they actually are opening the season with the fourth largest payroll in baseball at $181 million, I think it is. So the Lerner family that owns the team, they are billionaires. They have more money than just about any owner in professional sports. They have shown that they will spend on payroll. It is a big market, absolutely. They have an issue with their TV contract where they don't get as much as they believe they should be getting because of the situation with the Orioles that kind of own a majority of their network. But no, it can be a big baseball town. I think they've come a long way. They draw up consistently 30,000 plus every game. D.C. just wants a winner in anything. The city has not had a championship since 1992. They haven't had anybody even reach the Final Four of their league out of the four professional sports teams. Nobody's even reached the semifinals of their league since 1998. So people in this town just desperately want somebody to win, and once it happens, they're going to jump on the bandwagon, and it's going to be a huge deal. And so I think there are a lot of people that feel like the Nats could become that, and I think it's going to boil down to Bryce looking at the situation saying, does he want to take the chance on being the biggest part of that and forever being the guy in D.C., or does he want to go somewhere where he knows, hey, New York, L.A., Chicago, maybe even Philly, where it's already been established, but he's just going to be another one in a long line of great players over the years.
Max Scherzer, we'll see how many more great seasons he has. Strasburg is always the injury bug there. Gio Gonzalez has had his share of injuries. Very good pitching for the Nationals in that great lineup as well. The favorites in the East, Mark Zuckerman from MASN, the Mid-Atlantic Sports Network, who covers the Nationals as they open their season. Our NL East Week previews continue here on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Thank you so much, Mark.
Thank you for having me.